What is up, Booger Beans? Welcome back to another episode of Adventures with Boo. It has been a long time since we've had the bus back home.
Very, very long time.
But as you can see behind us,
here she is.
She is in a lot worse shape
looking the best
than when she left. So yeah, if you want to learn more about that, check out our Instagram for Cocktail Fridays. Join us. We'll talk about it there. But I think we're probably not going to talk about it on YouTube until everything gets
We probably won't even
figured
really
out.
talk about it on Instagram until it's all kind of sorted.
Yeah, we've had some issues, and yeah, we're not going to use the company's name or anything like that here, but yeah, nothing really got done. So, that being said, we have some stuff that we need to fix on the bus. So
After it came home.
yeah. So when it was being towed home from the mechanic,
Took a rock.
it took a big rock in the back window.
Right in my head.
So yeah, it smashed out the back window, and it's not a cheap replacement.
No,
It's
can't believe
nearly
it.
$500 to replace that window, and the order for that piece of glass is 6 to 10 weeks out.
But
which,
we've only talked to one shop. So
yeah, I've only talked to one shop so far, but that means that we're in like the middle of winter.
With no window.
Before that window gets here. So what we're going to try to do tonight is we have some plexiglass that's laying around here that we used on the Bobcat to put some windows in the Bobcat. And we're going to try and fashion up a piece that we can put in there. So at least it's sealed rather than just having duct tape over top of the window. And if we get that done, we might also get possibly onto working on the stairs. So we finally decided that we are just going to laminate the stairs. We're just going to stick it in there. It's cheap laminate. If it ends up wearing out or whatever, we just rip it out and replace it. I think that's going to be the easiest and most cost-effective way of doing
safest. We
Yeah.
really wanted tile, but it's just too slippery, like with snow and ice and all that. It's
Yeah.
not safe.
And I'm also worried that being the tile directly on that steel down there at the bottom of the step
It's
actually
cold.
gets really cold because our heaters are all above that. So to heat all the way down there, it takes a long time to get hot, or it doesn't get hot at all. So yeah, so I think if we put tile on the steel, I think that tile might shrink faster than other tiles, and it might cause cracking and more issues down the road. Whereas with the laminate, if it gets bunged up, it's laminate. We just
Yeah,
rip
and
it
it's
out
probably
make it.
only like one box to do our whole.
Well, we have the leftovers just
I
sitting
know,
there,
but I'm
so
just saying if they get broken, then
Yeah.
we have to replace them. We don't
Yeah.
have infinite leftovers.
$20 and it's
Yeah.
good to go. So, so yeah, there's that. So yeah, I guess let's get to the back of the bus and let's take a look at what's going on back there. Okay, so here is the broken window. We just got some chloroplast and Gorilla Tape over top of it for now, but I don't think
Not
that's
the best.
doing the best. So we do have a sheet of clear plexiglass here,
Really see it.
but I need a sheet that's 21 inches by 21 inches to make it perfect, and this is 20 inches by 20 inches. So I'm gonna try and make it like the one side is 19 and a bit inches and the other side is 20 and a half. So I'm gonna try and make it so that it fits perfectly on one side, and then we'll put in another piece and put like a layered piece over top of it and silicone it together for now. And then once we can get the glass and stuff figured out,
It's only a temporary solution.
then we'll go from there.
We're
So
not keeping this forever. The guy that towed it, he suggested that we just put a piece of wood in there and call her a day.
yeah, we're not gonna do that. Again, our house, not just the bus. So yeah, we're gonna rip this off of here, remove all of the paint from the back of the bus, and see what we get up to with this piece of plastic here. So let's. So now what we're gonna do is there is like this second roll right here, and what I've been told or read online is that this piece of, it's kind of like a hard piece of rubber rope, comes out, and then we should be able to roll this window open enough that we can put in the new sheet of glass. That's the hope anyways, because if not, we have to remove all the framing from the inside of the window, which would be a really huge setback.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. A lot of work. So,
If that happens, we're just gonna put up a piece of wood and call her done.
well, we'll probably have to, I don't know what we'll do, because we can't even put a piece of wood in. So let's hope this works. So let's try pulling this out. You're fine.
Oh yeah.
So this guy comes out
As long as it's not like decrepit.
like so. That comes out pretty easy.
Came out.
Yeah. We have got two bigger pieces here. The one is 19 inches and the other is 13 and a quarter. And if I add both those together, it's more than 20 and a half. Right?
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the piece 20 and a half. Well, we'll have to be a little bit more than that because it has to go down inside the lip.
So call her 21.
Well, quarter inch. Yeah, you're probably right. Probably 21. Yeah, I think. So we'll make it 21 inches. We'll cut two pieces that are 21 inches. And then we'll draw out like the corners and we'll have to cut those corners. This stuff is not super easy to cut. But it's not impossible.
Perfect.
So we'll figure it out. Okay, we get to Sydney's favorite tool. According to Woodworker's Journal on YouTube, he says cut it on a table saw. So
Create the table saw.
that's what we're going to try and do. And if we lose any fingers, well, we'll
I'm
know
not
soon
gonna
enough.
lose anything.
We got it in there. That was a lot of work. We had to have both Sydney and I on the outside working this the weather seal to get it in there. I hope they have a better way of doing this at the glass shop because there's no way that you would be able to get this in here as one piece. So I'm hoping they have a better solution and they can get this in and out of here without us having to remove the framing that's on the inside, because the framing that's on the inside is a bit of a pain in the butt to remove, and then we got to repaint it and we got to do whatever else. So if that's what it comes down to, that's what it comes down to. But we got that in there for tonight. It's sealed up pretty good. We did put a piece of duct tape here in the middle to seal that seam, and we did the same on the inside, and yeah, it's pretty good actually. I'm pretty happy with it. So that's where we're at for tonight, and see what we get up to tomorrow. We finally have a AT545 ready to be installed in the bus. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just swapping over all of the parts from the old one. We got this one from Spectrum Automatics in Blackbolt. They were able to find a unit for us and get it out of their warehouse in Calgary in less than 24 hours. So that was really, really nice. And now all we got to do is take the e-brake, all the fittings, all the sensors and that kind of stuff, and get them put on this unit. So shouldn't be too hard, but yeah, let's get into it. Alright Beans, I hope you can kind of see what's happening here. So let's just pop this plate out. So here's the two drums, and they kind of clamp around that top pole, and then they clamp around the actuator here, and you can see when this is like this, the actuator rotates outwards, and that's what applies the brakes. So these brakes are actually pulled in at all times, and then when you pull the actuator, it like cams over, and that locks it into place. So you get those two brakes on that, then you slide in this cover plate, and you kind of, there's these two little notches. I don't know if you guys can see those on camera, but there's two little notches here, and they slide over top of that plate, and then that's locked in place once you get that to slide in there. Takes a little bit of effort, but she does slide in. There she goes. It works perfect off camera, but then you turn the camera on, it doesn't work. Then there's 4 springs, and they go on the top and the bottom, and you just kind of gotta pinch them closed to get them on there. I'm gonna put on both of the top ones to start, and then I'll do the bottom ones after. I'm not going to do that on camera because I'm probably going to pinch my finger and swear too much. So yeah, that's kind of how you put it together, and then I'll show you guys the brake hub going on after. Okay, Bean, so I'm just going to hold off on putting this brake drum back on the transmission, because as you can see down in there, there's kind of some grot and some gross stuff that came out of the old transmission, which is weird because it should have been brand new, but fair enough. So there's just kind of some crud in there, and I don't have any parts or brake cleaner right now, so I'm just going to hold off on putting that on, and we're going to move on to the rest of the things that we can do. So here on the top of the transmission is the mounting bracket for the brake puller. So this mounts on here, and then the brake pulls from here. So we just got to bolt this guy on. Pretty simple, just 2 bolts, 1 on each side, and get her cranked on there. Shouldn't be too hard. So on this side of the trans, we've got the vacuum modulator, goes in right there. This is the fill tube, goes right here. And then we've got the shift selector. So our shift selector actually hangs down below the pan. It goes on here like this. And then that's what rotates the transmission back and forth through the detents, is this selector here. So now what we gotta do is put it on there and put it into the neutral position, which I believe is right there. And then we have got to wiggle that guy on there. So what you want to do is go all the way to the end of the detent, come back 1 click so that you're not against a gear. And then what you do is you put on your, this is a locking nut. So you put on a locking nut on there. And what you want to do is get a crescent wrench, or a wrench that fits around the size of this selector, and you want to tighten up by holding this in place. You don't want to tighten up against the shift selector by forcing the valve body in either direction. That's not the correct way to do it. So you want to hold this in place and then tighten this nut up onto it. There. And you want to tighten against the crescent wrench and not against the shift selector. Be heavy, so be careful, don't drop it on your toes. Just like that, beautiful. Make sure we don't got any grease in there. Yeah, clean up this guy again. So, clean him up. Get a little bit of blue Loctite. And we'll put him on there. Make sure we don't have any issues. Up here, you got your governor housing, and on the back side of that, there's a blue plug. That's for your speed sensor. That's a one that looks like this. It's a magnetic speed sensor. It's gonna go in there. Right here, this is for the vacuum modulator, which is still on the bus. This is the, I think this is the temperature, or no, this is the pressure sensor, which goes on a little plug like this on the other side. And here is the neutral safety switch, which this plug right here comes out, and the neutral safety switch goes into. This neutral safety switch is pretty much toast, not in good shape. So we're gonna have to order another one of those. But again, that's a few weeks out, so we're gonna get this guy in there for now. And once that's in, then we'll switch it over. It's, again, something that we can do while it's in the bus, so not a big deal. Torque converter. It's kind of a white powder all over this. I don't really know what that is. I tried to wipe it off, but it doesn't seem to want to come off. So we're going to leave it. Just gonna put that guy in there lightly just to hold it. We'll put some blue Loctite on all of these. They do have some Loctite on there, but I don't know about the dry Loctite. I don't know if I really trust it or not, to be honest with you. I guess it's, I'm sure some engineer figured it out, and they know their stuff, but I don't know if it's the best. Obviously it's worked for years, so obviously it does what it needs to do. But what's a little bit of extra safety? No worries. Get those guys all in there. So, okay, let's see if we can get this guy up in there. So what I did last time is I jacked it up. I was able to get the 2 top bolts in,
Okay.
and then I was able to align the flex plate and the torque converter and everything to slide it in there. Because we got to get the this housing all the way in first before we tighten up any of the flex plate bolts. Otherwise, it will pull out the torque converter. Oh, I knocked over all the bolts. Damn it. Okay, so let's pop this guy off because we're not moving him much anymore. Okay, we're not hitting anything there. So, I tried to film it under there yesterday, but I think I ended up like kicking the camera into a corner, and I think all you guys saw was like the corner of the bus. So, not really great. But we had our heavy-duty mechanic friend come out here and help us out yesterday. So I really appreciate that, Paul. Thank you very much. You saved me a ton of time. So we were able to get the transmission up in there, aligned it perfectly, slid right in, super, super smooth. Now all we really have to do is get everything hooked up. So we've got new transmission cooler lines, we've got a new transmission cooler, we've got new fluid, we've got new filters, everything ready to go. All we have to do is get all that stuff on the bus. I know it seems pretty simple, and generally it is pretty simple. It's just making sure that we don't get any of our lines crossed, anything weird happening. So we'll get back under that bus this morning, and we'll get her figured out. So let's get to it. For some reason, I cannot twist that with me. We are basically done underneath the bus. All that's left to do under the bus is the cotter pin for the gear selector, so reverse, neutral, drive, 1 and 2 and 3. So we have that cotter pin, and then we need to do the cooler lines. The problem is we can't do the cooler lines until we have a cooler. So usually there's a big radiator that sits right here in front of the engine and everything, and that, you know, does your intercooler, radiator, transmission cooler. It's all there. So obviously currently we don't have a radiator here. It's laying on the floor over there, and we need to get it in here. Problem is, she's a heavy beast. She's a couple 100 pounds, and that's empty. So what we need to do is probably get Dad, and we might actually get the Bobcat maybe to lift it up and drop it down in here. So that's the plan. Let's get to it. It's in the hole, but it's not dropping down. Can go that way. No, it's in the hole in the middle. The bushing's lined up.
So then what's stopping it from dropping down?
It's not. It's all the way down. It's sitting on the rubber plate. There's a rubber plate between the frame and this guy.
But, oh.
So we just gotta push it back and get this. Alright, Beans. So we got it in there. It was not easy to get in there, really. Ended up having to use the Bobcat. We're able to get it in. And this is kind of where the real difficult part of putting this all together comes, because I didn't take this portion of the bus apart. That was done by our mechanic. So now I have to figure out how to get this portion of the bus back together with no directions, no information, nothing, tons of missing bolts, missing whatever else. So I have to find hardware, I have to make hardware fit. So it's going to be some work, but we'll get through it. Yeah, it's going not too bad. I was hoping we could have this like out of here today, but again, our mechanic that we got it back from forgot to put in one of the elbows on the intercooler piping, so we have no way of having the intercooler hooked up, which isn't fine or bad to idle, but we can't really drive it, so that's problematic. So we're gonna have to try and find one of those, which isn't gonna be easy either. But yeah, we'll just get cranking away on trying to get this all back together. So let's get to it. Hi Beans, so we got all the transmission cooler lines on. We did have to take off the front bumper to attach the two front cooler lines. It's impossible to get in, foot long 1-inch wrench in between the bumper and the cooler to tighten it up. So we got them in, they're all good. Everything is tight, everything is clean, everything is brand new filter, brand new hoses, brand new cooler, everything's brand new. So now what we gotta do is fill it up with fluid. So we've got like 25, it's going to be about 25 liters of fluid to fill up the cooler and the transmission, all that kind of stuff. And then we got to take off the one cooler line, make sure there's fluid flow, and then put it back on just to make sure everything's flowing properly. After that, she should be ready to go. The only problem is our mechanic forgot to include two things that were supposed to be at the bus. Everything was supposed to be packaged up when we picked up the bus. Two things are missing. One of the intercooler piping silicone elbows is missing, so we can't actually start it because our turbo won't work. We could start it, but you won't have any turbo pressure and we won't have an air filter, and it's not really safe. So we're going to try and find one of those tomorrow. And then the other thing is the reverse pressure switch pigtail is missing. So there's a portion that goes into the transmission, runs over the top of the transmission, and then plugs into the wiring harness. Well, the piece between the switch and the wiring harness is gone. So, super happy about that. So now I gotta try and find one of those as well. But that's where we're at. Time to fill up some fluid, and yeah, hopefully tomorrow we can find those little parts and get it running. So let's get this fluid. So now here is our radiator tank, and this radiator obviously is completely empty. So we need to fill it up, and she takes about 50 liters of fluid. So what I do is I buy the concentrate, and I buy deionized water, and I put a jug of concentrate, jug of deionized, jug of concentrate, jug of deionized, and then once the engine is running, it mixes that up real quick and you don't have to worry about it freezing. Run generally 50-50 and should be good. Let's get her in there. Right there, we were able to find a coupler to work. We ordered it from Traction Heavy Duty Parts in Red Deer, and it's like this silicone coupling stuff. It comes in like a really long elbow, and then you cut it down to the right size, whatever you need. So we're able to get that cut down. Now we're basically ready to start the bus. Couple things that we have to check though is engine oil, we're good. Transmission fluid, we're good. Radiator fluid, we're good. Now before we run it at all, we actually have to check and see if we have flow through the cooler. So what we have to do is pop off the line, or the transmission cooler line, right before the filter, and then at that point we need to allow that fluid to run through. Once we have fluid there, then we shut off the bus, hook it all back up, check our transmission fluid, make sure we still have enough to run it, and then we can warm it up and go through all the things and see if she runs. So let's get that done now. Great news, Beans, we got her. Start it up, put her into gear, she moves. That's perfect. Now obviously we don't have the what's it called, the hood on and everything back together here. So that's my goal for the rest of the night, and hopefully by the end of the night we can pull this bad boy out of the shop. That's the dream. So let's work hard and see if we can get that done.
Your heart is gonna find a way. Don't you worry now about setting love free. Yeah, that's when you're gonna start to see better lies and better
she rips. So yeah, we got it out of the shop, did a little loop on the driveway, put it forward reverse, no issues. We took it out all the way down the road up to 100, no problems. Came back, fluid was a little low after shifting through all the gears, getting the filter full, getting all those kinds of things full. So we just went, added some more fluid. She looks good. And we're a little low on diesel to actually go for a trip. So we're gonna get some diesel tomorrow, and then we'll go and actually take her out for a rip for a couple hours to really get everything hot and get everything going. And then we'll go from there. But I assume this episode has probably been a long one. There's been lots of stuff going on. We are going to do an episode about what happened with the bus and why it took so long and all those kinds of things. We're just trying to get all our thoughts sorted and everything so we don't say anything out of line and we don't cause any issues in the future. So we're just trying to get that all sorted. But once we do have that leveled out, we definitely will do an episode on what happened to the bus and all those kinds of things. But for right now, guys, if you haven't already, go down, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button. And as always, guys, thanks for watching and have a great night.